let's move on to another conference championship game on Friday night. Let's talk some Pac-12. This game was supposed to not be this game. This is how crazy 2020 is. Supposed to be USC Washington. Washington couldn't play, so they just say, "Hey, Oregon, come play the Pac-12 championship at BetMGM." Oregon is a 3.5-point underdog. Over under 63.5. I could tell you, I played the over here. I mean, the Oregon offense has been really good. My guy, Joe Moorhead, who I really like, they lost Herbert. They lost maybe the best offensive lineman in college football who opted out. The Oregon offense has been awesome. They've just been really unlucky. They're fourth worst nationally in turnover margin per game at minus 1.4. They lost 7 fumbles, thrown 4 picks in just 7 games. But they have 2 junior running backs, C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye, that lead a rushing attack that is one of 20 in the country to average at least 5.2 yards per carry. I think they'll have a field day on the ground against USC. Their run defense is really weak. And from an efficiency perspective, Oregon's top 5 in the nation on the ground. And they have a mobile quarterback, Tyler Shuck, who we've seen the Trojans have struggled with mobile quarterbacks in the past 2 years and earlier this year when they played Arizona State. So that could come in to play. But just overall, Oregon's top 10 in yards per play, and it's just been a really good offense. It's been pretty unlucky. So there's positive regression that looms here, and that could certainly happen against a USC defense that has holes. On the other side of the ball, USC's offense, they can't really run it, but they can throw it, and they're really efficient doing it with Keldon Slovis and their receivers. And Oregon's defense has been bad. It's allowed 4.6 yards per rush, so maybe it's outside the top 80. Maybe USC can have some success running it, but more importantly, they're 74th in passing success rate. Yeah, they haven't allowed a lot of explosive plays, but this is the air raid. I think that Slovis will be able to move the ball up and down the field through the air, and that shouldn't be surprising with Oregon. I mean, this is supposed to be one of the best defenses in the country, but Brady Breeze, Javon Highland, Thomas Graham, they all opted out, all starters in their secondary with a lot of NFL talent. They also don't get any pressure on opposing quarterbacks, 97th in sack rate. So I think USC will be able to move the ball. And if USC's down late, we know they'll score 3 touchdowns in the final minute. So that'll help the over, which I like here, if you haven't been able to tell. And then, so I played it at 62. I played it at 62.5 and 63. I like it up to 64. If I make it like 67, these aren't the 2 fastest offenses in the world, which is the only concern. But I just don't see many stops. These are 2 defenses that are outside the top 70 in yards per play allowed, outside the top 50 on third downs. So I think both offenses move the chains here and move the ball efficiently. So I think this is a high-scoring game. So I took some over. I think that the line is pretty spot on. But I think you're going to argue for the Ducks, which I can't hate because, I mean, USC seems like they escape every week.
Yeah, they do. And, 2 key points for your over is really offensive finishing drives. They have major advantages over their opposing defensive units. Oregon is top 25 in finishing drives. USC is 61st in defensive finishing drives. The same split exists on the other side of the ball. So that's really a good indicator for the over. And yeah, I could absolutely see this be a shootout. But it comes back to my mind that USC is on 6 days rest. Oregon's on 13, and you say, well, Oregon didn't know that they were going to play USC, so they got it. Well, it's the air raid. They've seen it before. They know how to defend it. I'm not, that's really not a strong argument. For me, it's more like the health of the USC players with the number of days that they've had off, even though that they are playing at home. Oregon has some very impressive offensive numbers, and if you haven't been paying attention, they entered this season with the lowest returning production rank on offense. And that was back when we thought we were going to have a normal year. That was back before anybody in this world was wearing a mask. We knew that Oregon on offense was going to struggle big time, and that the reason why we were buying futures on Oregon was the strength was going to be the defense. So Joe Moorhead comes in, and you have to be impressed by some of these numbers. 3rd in the country in rushing success rate, 12th in the country in pass explosiveness on offense. Yeah, they're 94th in havoc allowed. So that means they're allowing tackles for loss. They're fumbling the ball. And the reason for that is they're so young because of the youth movement that's been going on, especially at the quarterback position. Offensive line has had to fill some holes. And that number is only going to improve. So Oregon, the Cristobal information, getting a new contract. Auburn makes everybody rich, by the way, just say that as a side note. But Cristobal getting his new contract. Oregon is going to continue to be a buy-on team as Cristobal continues to field a defense that can probably hang with some SEC teams. So we'll see how this turns out for the Ducks long term. But yeah, I do like Oregon here a lot. Everything from the offensive side that I said, there are problems on the defense. The problem for Oregon on defense has been the opt-outs from the beginning of the season. 49 missed tackles and 349 defensive snaps. They do rank 10th in defense in EPA, so they have been able to stop some explosive plays. Noah Sewell, their highest graded player in pass coverage, or linebacker. And, really from a pressure standpoint, Kayvon Thibodeau has 14 hurries, which is double than anybody else on the team for Oregon. So those are two very important pieces on the defense. I'm not saying it's all world and it's going to be able to shut the scoring down in this game. I'm just saying those are two very important names to know. USC is going to be without their star running back. And I think that's a big part of this handicap. The reason why I'm playing Oregon flat out is third downs, both sides of the ball, they have the advantage. Finishing drives, they have the advantage. Rushing the ball, they have the advantage. USC is without their starting running back. And you say, well, it's an air raid offense and they don't run that much. But they do lean on the running game when it's short yardage situations, when they just need a couple yards they need to pick up. USC's not been able to do that all year long. Outside the top 100, line yards, power success, stuff rate. They've been terrible running the ball and controlling the trench. And now they don't have their starting running back. Stephen Carr is still there. Not the same production, 126 in rush explosiveness, part of the handicap, not the entire handicap. I think Oregon, because of the running back being injured for USC, they're going to be able to rush 3 and drop 8. I mean, they're going to be able to play what you should be able to against an air raid offense. So I think that really works in the advantage for Oregon, besides having a whole bunch more extra rest. If you look at Oregon, they've allowed just 2 passes over 40 yards. 15 over 20 in 5 games. So, they've allowed it in around the 20-yard range, but if Slovis is going to try to go 30-plus, it ain't going to happen against Oregon. USC, like I mentioned, we bet USC last week, and they had a massive comeback. We got away with having one there. I mean, 4% post-game win expectancy over UCLA. If you played that game 100 times, UCLA would win it 96 times. Stuck was right. He hit the nail on the head. Jaden Daniels with Arizona State, dual threat, gave USC all that they could handle. I think Oregon's rushing offense should dominate the clock. Duck should be in control of this game from beginning to end. Pass explosiveness is such a big deal, and if the pass is not there, Tyler Show's been able to take off and run. USC defense, outside the top 50 in third down conversions. The Ducks are 15th offensively in third down conversions. Ducks in an upset. I don't think you need the points. And yet again, the Pac-12 finds a way to eat themselves up as far as undefeated teams and getting national attention.